Assalamu alaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Okay. I come on here today because in the past I was somebody who needed saving. And there were environments, people, many different things scattered throughout my journey from transforming from a life of being in darkness to light. Basically just meaning darkness meaning things, everything from addiction to not being comfortable in my own body. I wasn't happy with my weight. I felt that I was too fat, and I was letting go of myself. What else? So faithless, like no practicing, no deen. This is already like a lot of heavy things. Just typical bad habits of somebody growing up in Canada, the West. What else? A whole lot of bad habits, like a lot of lack of discipline, going to sleep late, waking up late, working a job that I don't care about at Starbucks, so many different things. And I overcame all of that by the help of Allah, and I want people who are not practicing to stick around, because it's not going to be generic in regards to me talking about my experience being a Muslim. I was definitely at a point in the past where, by definition, you could say I was not Muslim because I was not submitting, right? That's what a Muslim is, someone who submits. If you don't put your forehead on the ground like that, does that mean, that means just by the name Muslim, you're not Muslim. I always believed in Allah, but I was lost. And alhamdulillah, I became found. And I'm definitely someone that, you should hear out if you're just, if you're someone like maybe Somali, even if you're not Somali, just someone, who grew up in a household of God, of religion, and you're a bit far from that. I think you'd like to hear what I have to say in regards to that. There's just so many things, and I didn't really have a plan, a very detailed sort of script, because I said to myself, look, at the end of the day, reality is people like authenticity. Perfection isn't really something that is real for the creation, so nobody's looking for that. And as for what people are looking for, I'm not somebody, and I as a person need to take action. That's my problem. So here we are, right, saying that these are all the problems that I can say for 100% fact young people deal with, like loneliness, suffering in general, you name it, even shame, so many different things. I guess the place that I would start, because it wouldn't make sense to just just word vomit all in one video, all the different insights that I've came across. But I guess I'll try to get to the root in regards to how Allah saved my life, and how that can empower you, bi'idhnillah. So at the root of it all, I believe it's, I have to get down to the bottom of, who you are, I guess maybe what you are, and why that matters, what you should want. This is a big thing, right? Because this is what moves you. And if you're not moving, and you just sit still for a long time, knowing that there's something about this life that's fulfilling, even if you don't know what it is, then that's just that stagnation is just next step after that. If you're not already there, is depression. So what to want, not just like, okay, you should want this, but like out of all the things that you could want, what to want. And what to want, and I'm convicted in this, and I really do admit a lot of times that I'm not convicted in 100% in, you know, something that I may bring up. You know, not to say that I'll just bring up things that aren't serious, but like I'll bring it up as to have a discussion. But something that I feel like I'm standing on solid ground in regards to it being the truth is in regards to, you know, what's the most valuable thing to want. And the most valuable thing to want is character. It's not a tangible thing, so it's something that is with you wherever you go. That's the best kind of thing, right? It's renewable, or is it? I'm not even gonna try to waste my time trying to figure out that word. Point is, something that it doesn't sort of get lost. You know, it's always gonna be in your heart, your character, and it goes wherever you go. And why, you know, character is important, and you know how to cultivate that and you nurture that within yourself in the first place. The reason why character is important at the end of the day is that it's a safeguard, you know, and just the utmost important tool to, you know, to have in regards to, you know, having the optimal, you know, the best tool you can have in order to pursue things, the best safeguard and security to be able to deal with things. And, you know, ultimately, if you do have character, it directly correlates with the quality, you know, of the quality of your life in general, the quality of your life, you know, in every single lane. Because think about it, right? You know, there are, like in relationships, whether it's your studies, you know, struggles, good times, bad times, if you have character in any one of those scenarios, you're still gonna experience, you know, have bad experiences, but it's just that what changes is how you deal with them, right? So if someone doesn't have any character, you know, or they lack a lot in the aspect of character, they might find themselves in a scenario where, let's say for example, their character is contingent, or their wants, you know, are the material thing, typical things. What, like, if it's just, you know, a status, a job, a car, a woman, and they don't have that at the time, they're depressed. You know, they're depressed because you don't have the thing that is fulfilling to you. It's outside of you, so you're depressed. Now, if you do have it, you're anxious, because ultimately we all know that nothing lasts forever. And, you know, if you have just enough common sense, you've lived long enough, you can just sort of know that you can be separated from that which you own today. You know, like nothing is for certain. So there's an anxiousness, you know, when your sort of internal security is contingent upon something that can pretty much just, you know, leave voluntarily or leave involuntarily. So both ways you're screwed. You know, when you're dealing with nothing, I mean, you're just lacking, and you're just lacking something. You feel this lack, and when you do have something, you can never really even enjoy it because there's this idea that it just might not, you know, be with you at any, you know, given point in time. Anyways, so you can see how in a scenario where you do, let's say you do have character in a time where, you know, you might not have, you know, things that you want materially, which is fair, right? You're still gonna want things. That's not the point, that you just don't want things. It's just that now, foundationally, you know, the thing that you want the most, and to build the most, and to you know, refine the most is your character. And so when you don't have any material things that you actually would like, you know, or tangible things, the way you deal with it is that, you know, you deal, you know, until life just gives you a different scenario. And so I'll get more into, you know, you know, what you should do, because maybe that's another video, because there's the wanting aspect of it. Like, what I guess I'm trying to cover, like what, like, you know, what's worth wanting right now, and that being character. And I'm gonna relate that, you know, I did bring up like how to cultivate it, how to nourish, you know, that character in and of itself. You know, how does that grow? You know, what to do. By the way, I'm not going to tell everyone to do the same thing. That definitely is unique for everybody to, I guess, a big degree. It's not something, but we'll get into it later. Anyways, and then the when somebody has something, right, but they have character. First of all, they're gonna interact with it in a high quality manner, right? They're gonna respect whatever this is, you know, be it that they have discipline in regards to it, you know, if they have a really good position in it with a job, or they'll show up on time, you know, they'll put their all in, you know, if they're a person of character throughout and sustain that kind of, you know, attitude towards that job, you know. And what else? Even like you can change that with, you know, a car. If someone has like a good character, they'll upkeep that. They'll make sure it's clean. They'll make sure, you know, they, when it needs to be changed, they change the oil. Like, oh, they just, you know, take care of business. You know, they're responsible. You know, that's a good character trait, right? And anyways, getting to how that relates to not having an anxious relationship with something. You can be secure, as in, like, at the end of the day, this isn't the thing that you wanted the most. Your security lies in, you know, not whether or not you have the thing. Your security, you know, comes from, you know, how you deal with whatever things you may or may not have, right? Because at the end of the day, you know, nothing less, you know, nothing is guaranteed. So you might ask yourself, right, like, where's that focus point? Because, you know, or this directly, you know, connects with my next point, which is, you know, I'll kind of talk about it through the lens of how I even came to this conclusion, you know, a little bit story about my life, right? So I remember, you know, looking at an object, you know, sort of like this. Don't want to expose my, you know, self, but if anyone's not Muslim here, if Allah hides something bad that you do, you shouldn't expose it. So like I said, bad habits in the past, addictions, I'm looking at this thing, right, in which I give my focus and my attention to, right? And I ask myself, like, you know, that which gives me anxiety or depression, you know what I mean? When I have it or when I don't have it. So I look at it and I said, this is my object of worship. See, whatever you give your attention to, it will reflect back onto you, and you could sort of, you know, do that inquiry of yourself after looking where your attention predominantly goes towards, and then you can see, okay, this is, you know, who I am, and this is like what the status, like the quality of my life is, right? So bringing up the idea, so in that situation, when I looked, that's when I had the sort of insight and the self-realization to say, well, like, I'm not gonna worship that, because that's what it is, right? Attention at the end of the day, someone that you love, you know, attention is like a form of love, you know what I mean? Like undivided attention, you know, like it was almost like the actions were like ritualistic, you know, like showing up, like I gotta get my morning, I gotta get my, you know what I mean, my afternoon experience with the, you know, the thing that is akin to looking like this, apart from this part of the spoon, you know what, I hope you understand, you know, that which, you know, makes me a human chimney. Anyways, like, it's ritualistic. Different points in the day, maybe 5, 6, 4 times a day, maybe what else? Like, you know, spending the money on it, going long distances. I mean, at this point, like, it's a whole, you know, religion, and you realize, I definitely had this realization that, like, there's no such thing as a free individual. We're all slaves to something. And it hit me because this was right around the time that I was realizing that the most valuable thing is character. And so the most valuable thing is character, you know, because it puts you in a position that wherever you are, you can have security and you can have the, you know, capabilities to be able to pursue, you know, farther and longer things that are worthwhile. It's like, I don't want to give my attention and worship really to things that ultimately end up reflecting back on me in a way where it just deteriorates me and just completely violates my soul and corrupts my soul. So I said, it hit me like a light bulb, because I always knew Allah existed. I always knew God was real. So I said, in order to, you know, for my heart to reflect a good character, I would have to give my attention to that which embodies goodness, you know? And it just hit instantly, because me not even having to be somebody who was learned very much or religious or anything, I just knew, oh, it's so obvious. It's so, it was like such a, it was such a like perfect, like it was almost the way it just came together. Instantly, I just knew what I had to do. I had to stop submitting to this bad old habit, and I had to start submitting to God. And I knew that what that would do would be that it would transform my life. It would take me out of all the darknesses that I was in, whether it was loneliness, whether it was, you know, meaninglessness, you know, not having a life of meaning, you know, no fulfillment, you know, breaking bad habits, breaking addictions, you know, taking me out of bad mental states, you know, be it anxiousness, depression, like any kind of darkness you can think of. And actually, one of the names of Allah is light, you know, the light, you know, the light of the heavens and the earth, An-Nur. So it was just that, because like I used to take medication for mental health, no medication. Like within this a little span of time, I think it was like perhaps less than a year, I'd say. It could like most like up to 1 year, or partly like, or a bit less, in which I stopped taking medications that they said that I think you'd probably have to take maybe your whole life, or a longer portion of your life, something along those lines. I mean, like, before I wasn't practicing, I was just kind of on that for like what seemed like it would just be a part of my life. Like it didn't have an end in sight. But that didn't even matter, you know, when I started practicing. It just sort of like, there was a purpose in my life, and that was, you know, and I'm going to end the video off around this point, this is going to be the last main point, and it is, what is worship? Because I didn't even know as a kid. As a kid, when I used to pray, and I didn't have a problem with it, because ultimately, yeah, it just resonated in my heart, you know, before I got into just experimenting, being young and dumb. When I was a little bit, you know, still dumb, but just younger, and I was praying, I was cool with everything, but I didn't even know what worship meant. And, you know, worship means love, like the highest form of love, the kind of love that you're like, no inhibitions, you just love this without second guessing, or like, you know, worried if like you should or you shouldn't kind of love, you know. That's what ilah means, the one that is loved is, you know, is worshipped. And also, you know, submission, you know, and who better than to submit to, you know, and have govern, you know, the decisions that you make in your life, as opposed to having these kind of habits and stuff like that, or emotions. Because when you look at it this way, where it's like your God is like pretty much other, or just anything of under the category of creation, which is all just dependent, or the creator, it makes things black and white. At least if you believe in the creator, and, you know, your heart is being receptive to you're looking for something true, you know. So worship literally just meaning love and submission, you know, being humble before some you know, some entity, you know, God. So learning these things like made me think, what would have life been? But I don't concern myself with that too much, because I say to myself, you know what? Life was what it was to get me here. And today my purpose, what I want ultimately, is to be able to help people, you know, and be the person, you know, that I perhaps would have really benefited from, you know, because I can connect with people not just with superficial, generic advice, but actually being able to listen and just hear myself when I'm like, you know, hearing your story. So I'm going to put my Discord maybe somewhere where you can reach it. My YouTube channel, I think that's in my bio. And hopefully you know, I can hear y'all out and you know, support you in your journey to grow and to you know, integrating your inner light and to empower you guys, you know, just the same way that Allah empowered me, you know. Inshallah. So Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.